I've had many dealings with the police and the Ministry of Transport officials during the 40 years I spent driving trucks. On one occasion, I was carrying polystyrene blocks on what we call a taut liner or curtain sider, these big trailers with plastic curtains down the side. You close them and clip them down. And the polystyrene blocks were big, but I picked one up because there was no weight in them. When the trailer was full, they were sticking out each side, and I pulled the curtains to, and it looked as though I was grossly overweight, but of course there was only polystyrene. And driving up the A1, the police pulled me into this weighbridge centre run by the Ministry of Transport, and I stopped, and they never questioned me or anything, and it came to my turn to drive onto the weighbridge. So suspecting, I drove on very slow, and gave the engine plenty of revs to make them think that I was overloaded, and stopped on the weighbridge, put the parking brake on, turned the engine off, and sat there and watched the fun. So checking on the weighbridge, putting a slide over, they all looked mystified. Checked again, the mover's weight over. And then the police officer came out. He says, "What you carrying, driver?" I says, "Polystyrene." "What weight?" I says, "About 3 ton. Of course, I could have carried about 24 ton. He says, "You never said." I says, "You never asked." He says, "Go on, off you go." And going way back before tachograph cards, on the old logbook, I booked away from Sheffield one morning with a load of coal and then ran south down the M1 to Chesterfield. Not a long distance. I booked away from Sheffield at 11, pulled off the M1 and drove up the road towards Chesterfield, and the police pulled me into the lay-by, routine check. The younger officer questioned me while the older officer walked around the truck, and the younger officer said, "Have you got your logbook, driver?" So I gave it to him. "Where you just come from?" It says there, look, Sheffield. I left at 11. He says, "Where you going?" I says, "Chesterfield." He says, "Well, you haven't put your destination down." I says, "I ain't fucking got there yet." And he says, "I'm telling you to write your destination." I said, "No." He said, "You write your destination down." I says, "No." He says, "I'm telling you." And I says, "I'm telling you. I might not even get there. I might have a breakdown, or the boss might phone me and divert the load." "Well, I'm not having this." And the older officer come around. He says, "What's going off here?" I said, "He wants me to write the destination down." I says, "I haven't got there yet." He says, "Off you go, driver." And I drove away, looked in the mirror, and I saw the older officer. He was remonstrating with the younger officer, probably saying to him something like, "You can't expect the drivers to write the destination down when they haven't even got there." And our traffic manager once said, "If the police swear at you, don't let it bother you, because if they swear at you, they can't book you. So let them call you anything they like. Don't get offended. Once they swear, then you know that you're not going to be booked." So hammering through this village one Saturday morning down in Warwickshire, the boss said, "Get to the brickyard, quick. To get there for 11, you'll get loaded." So hammered through a 30-mile-an-hour zone, doing 60 mile an hour, the empty trailer. It was a tipper trailer, bouncing up and down, and I saw a blue light behind me. I thought, "Oh my God. Oh no." So I stopped and put my head over the wheel. And this old sergeant came up. He says, "Morning, driver." I says, "Morning." He says, "Your marker boards and your lenses on back of the trailer are dirty." I says, "Oh yeah, are they? Oh." So I got a cloth and did an athletic leap out of the cab, in my younger days. And round the back I was cleaning the lenses, with a cloth. I says, "Yeah, it's this dirty weather, it's difficult keeping them clean." He says, "Yeah, I can imagine that." He says, "You were shifting a bit, weren't you?" I says, "Yeah, I suppose I was." He says, "Yeah, next fucking time I catch you, I'll book you." He swore at me. Yeah, I'm very sorry, officer. I do apologise. I'll make sure it don't happen again. Then on the heads of the Valley Road, the A465 in South Wales, hammering along there with a tipper trailer, bouncing, and a police motorcyclist pulled me up. He says, "Where do you think you are? Fucking Brands Hatch?" I says, "Sorry, officer." He swore again. So I got away with that. Then the other incident, what was it? Come on, think. Oh yeah, driving down from Winsford salt mines in Cheshire down the M5, it had been snowing and the motorway was covered in sort of, not ice, it was sort of loose snow. And I hadn't put a sheet over the load. I thought, I'm not clambering up there, it was cold. And I should have put a sheet over it, but I didn't bother. And hammering down, a police motorcyclist behind me pulled me up just on the approach to Birmingham, stopped me in the service area. He came up to the cab and he was covered in road salt. He was brushing himself down. He says, "Well, thanks for salting the motorway for us, drive, but put a fucking sheet over it." He swore again, so I got away with that. And officer once stopped me down in Sussex. He said, "You've got a hole in the tyre on the trailer, look." I says, "Well, it's not down to the tread." "Well, I'm going to report you." I said, "But it's not down to the tread, look. It's a hole, it's just a piece of rubber. It's not down to the tread or the wire." "Well, you know, I have to book you, and I must warn you that anything you say may be taken." I says, yeah, I walked away. He says, "Please come back and listen." I said, "I've heard it all before. I have to tell you." So I said, "Yeah, go on then. Anything you say may be used and taken down in evidence and all that." You know, then at the end, he gave me the ticket. He says, "Right, away you go, driver. Have a nice day." I thought, what? He booked me, and he said, "Have a nice day." And back at the yard, the fitter took the tyre off, and he took it up to the local MOT centre, and they just cleared it, because there was a bit of rubber, as you often get when you're running in scrapyards and these building sites, a bit of rubber. But as long as it's not down to the tread or the wire, then it's quite safe, and they just cleared it. Yeah. So, you know, that police officer was a bit, he was young, I suppose, you know, he was laying the law down. It's rather late, and I'm getting rather tired. And a particular company I work for, on logbooks before tachograph cards came out, the Ministry of Transport, the vehicles used to run 24 hours a day, and I was doing night work. And the Ministry of Transport did a silent check on all the vehicles. It was a big job that they did. They had Ministry of Transport officials everywhere on the runs that we used to do. And they caught all of us breaking the law. And this particular morning, the Ministry of Transport officials, 2 of them, turned up at the yard, and all the drivers were told to stay in the yard, not to go out until they'd been. And they interviewed every driver. Drivers were very stroppy. One driver had a tape recorder, press record. He says, "Right, first question." And they were very stroppy towards the Ministry of Transport officials, you know, bad-mouthing them. And it eventually came to my turn, because as the drivers came out, you know, "Oh, they've got us, you know, for falsifying records, going over your time," and, you know. And I thought, well, they've caught me. There's no point in denying it. I might as well admit. What's the point in lying? They've got me. So it came to my turn to be interviewed, and I admitted everything. They said, on this certain day, you drove over your hours. I said, yeah, I did. On this particular occasion, you falsified your records, and the boss tried to interrupt. And they said, "Please, Mr. X, stay quiet." And every question they asked me, I just calmly sat there and just admitted. Because I thought, you know, what's the point in lying? And afterwards, the boss said to the drivers, "You won't believe all. You've fucking admitted everything." And I said to him, you know, what's the point in denying it? They caught us, and that's it. "Don't bloody believe you." And all the drivers, you know, bloody idiot. And As it turned out, the boss was fined heavily, and all the drivers had a big fine, and I never heard a word. Nothing. And I said to the boss, well, I've not heard anything. What was that? He said, don't complain, just be grateful. And you know why I never heard anything? Obvious, isn't it? I didn't badmouth them. I just admitted everything, and they let me off. They could have thrown the book at me. I could have had a big fine like the rest of the drivers, but no, I didn't badmouth them at all. I just sat there quite calm, cool, calm, and collected, and just answered all the questions politely and admitted everything. And then, as I walked out, I said, "Thank you very much," and that was it. I got away with it. So there's lots more incidents where I've had dealings with the law over all the years, and his video's gone on for long enough, and I'm going to bed. So I've got my dressing gown on, my old car dressing gown. All I want is a cigarette in it, a cigarette holder. But anyway, that's it. I'm off. Okay. Cheers. Bye. Okay.